gonna hit record. All right, we're recording. Fran, did you want to intro?
Okay. And welcome, listeners, to a mighty long return and a welcomed return to RVA Dirt's Municipal Mania.
Mania.
Yes, heard here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on WRIR-LP 97.3 FM Richmond Independent Radio.
Yay. You got it all in one breath too. Like, I'm super impressed.
Listen, I didn't practice, but I'm just saying.
We've been
Only took 5 years.
It's fine. We've been on an extended hiatus, but that's cool. Sometimes you need a break. But
Yes.
we're stoked to be back, especially with this very special episode about the supermajority lady-led city council in Richmond. Yay! On this fine Women's History Month.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I feel like we really need to make it count this year. It's been a struggle the past year, and women have definitely been leading the charge through a lot of the stuff we're going through. But
it's forever.
And we're doing this in 2 parts. So our first part is we're going to let our guests introduce themselves and tell us just a little bit about your background. And the first question you can go right into: were you daunted as a woman entering politics? So Katherine, you first.
Okay, thank you. My name is Katherine Jordan. I am the council representative for the 2nd District, and my personal professional background is as an urban planner. And I was born at St. Mary's. My dad taught at VCU. My mom taught on and off at the University of Richmond, is also an artist. And I moved back here as an adult 6 years ago with my family, and have been amazed at the transformation in the city. I love being here. And this was my first foray into running for public office. I got involved with politics when a friend of mine was running for governor. So in the primary, so basically the same time, rewind, I was working on the Tom Perriello campaign, and that kind of got me into it. But I never thought about running for myself. I just started following local government because of the school budget going down. My kids were at Fox at the time. And then my other passion is the environment. I was on the Green City Commission as a Dwight Jones appointee. It's in my 2nd term. And, but I just really enjoyed working on campaigns and getting to know other local women who were leaders. I was lucky enough to live around the corner from Jennifer McClellan. Our kids were in kindergarten at the same time. And so people like that really inspired me. I also worked on the Equal Rights Amendment ratification in Virginia, and spent a lot of time at General Assembly. And seeing other women step up who had normal lives, who had kids, really gave me a little bit of confidence. And then I did some training. I had friends who were encouraging me. And in honor of my friend who was my biggest supporter from the West Coast, I'm wearing a shirt she sent me. This was way before I decided to run. So in honor of Women's History Month, it says, "Not today, patriarchy."
Yes.
Yeah. And then the back it says Emerge USA. So Emerge is a program that helps women go into politics. So I think women right now have a lot of support out there that they can tap into, and they're seeing other women who come from non-traditional backgrounds for politics anyway. Like, they might not necessarily, they're coming from different backgrounds. It's exciting to see that. I hope more women keep, running. But I also think people just voted for folks that resonated with them, that they felt were competent and that would do a good job. I don't think there's 7 women on council because people said, I want to vote for a woman. I think they voted for the person that they thought was best in that role. So I think it's kind of funny that we get so much attention for having 7, because we're just 7 people who live in the city who wanted to do this. But if it opens up a larger conversation and inspires other women to think about politics, then I'm all down for the conversation.
Awesome, awesome.
Okay, my turn. I am Kristen Ny Larson. I'm the 4th District City Council representative. I've served in this for a term already and just started my 2nd term with Katherine. Excited she's with us now. Previous to that, I was on school board in the same district, and much like Katherine's story, I sort of accidentally fell into this. I was working with the charter school in South Richmond back in 2010 when my kids were 6 and 4. And we had a lot of challenges with the school board representatives sort of listening to the charter school, wanting to work with the charter school. And I am not from Virginia. I grew up in Delaware, went to public school my whole life, went to school in Syracuse, lived in DC. So to me, charter schools were not this crazy thing that was uber partisan. It was just another choice, another educational choice in the city. So I didn't really understand all the politics around it. However, also took the time to educate myself around the politics of it and the history of public education in Virginia, to be sensitive what the Commonwealth had gone through, what the city had gone through, and honestly, what we're still going through. But the cool thing about the school is it is diverse. My children ended up going there, had a very diverse education with students from all over the city. So, but that kind of fed me into running for public office, because when the seat became vacant in 2012, the school board member at the time for the 4th district said she wasn't going to run. It's like, oh, we got to get somebody in there who really connects with the community. And then I realized maybe that could be me. So I ran and won, and it was exciting 4 years. We had on our school board, we had Jeff Bourne, Glenn Sturdivant, myself, Kim Gray, Donald Coleman. Like, we had some really amazing people that I am just feel so proud to have served with these folks. And I feel like we did do a lot in the 4 years we had there. So then when the seat opened in City Council for 4th District, I thought it would be great to run for that seat and get somebody on there who actually has kids in the school and has that school perspective. So that's why I'm here today. The whole question about women and running and did I know what I was getting into? I had no idea what I was getting into. And there are still some days where it's just, I'm flabbergasted by things that people think it's appropriate to say to me. When I was campaigning for City Council the first time, so we're talking 5 years ago, I had recently got a divorce, which was awkward enough just to talk about, but super awkward to talk about with people who I don't really know, and I'm trying to get them to vote with me, for me, and share all this personal information. And I'm an extremely private person. And I'm at a forum at somebody's house, and somebody asked me, well, how are you going to handle all this if you're a single mom with 2 kids? How can you? Yes. Yep.
How could you possibly?
How could I handle all of this? Yep. So that was not the first time that I'd received a question like that. I mean, I'd received questions like that when I was married too. And certainly won't be the last time, I'm sure. But it's, it's hard when you get that, because on the one hand, you're frustrated that you got the question, but then on the other hand, you're like, I can handle it, right? I can do this, you know, but then when you step away from it, you're like, there's no way if, you know, insert male counterpart, that they would ever in a billion years get that question. So that's where I have to bring myself back to every time. It's out there, it exists, and all we can do is just, you know, plow through it, try to correct people when we can, and try to draw their attention to the inappropriateness of it. And I think as a society, you know, some of that is happening. I have the most senior constituency in the city. So I think sometimes that does contribute to it. But so
Fran, you're up.
I'm blown. I don't know why I'm blown though, because
yeah,
this is kind of what happens when we do anything, right? We find ourselves questioned, but you know, that's kind of interesting. And I'm glad that you pointed out too, maybe it's because you have the most senior constituency, even though that's not an excuse for them. Bless their hearts. They know better.
it's not an excuse, but you know, I also grew up in a household where at holidays, it was definitely the women in the kitchen cooking and cleaning, and the men on the couch waiting for the meal or recovering from the meal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I see differences with each generation, and I see growth in those areas. But yeah, it's
Well, there's a lot of, you know, internalized misogyny too. Like people think that they're just asking a normal question or making a normal observation, but in reality, it's kind of lessening your experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's daily, like the microaggressions on that level are daily. But you know, they're all, and also we're always expected to handle those things with grace. And the position that y'all are in, I mean, you don't really have a choice,
Right.
because whether they voted for you or not, or whether you agree with them or not, they're your constituents.
Yep.
You
And
know?
they're going to have an opinion. And that's exactly why I tell people I can't run, because my mouth ain't ready.
I don't
Yeah,
think we'll
it's
I don't think we'll ever be actual politicians. We'll just commentate on it because yikes.
That is not my gift. Nope. Nope.
But y'all
And I'm
seem to have
okay.
that gift. I mean, bless you for it too.
No, I just stopped questioning. I was like, you know what, look at the people on council and the people who've been on council the last, you know, several terms. Why not me? Like they seem to figure it out. And, you know, we're supposed to represent a wide stretch of folks. It shouldn't be these, you know, one category type of person. So
Yeah.
I don't count it out. Like, you know, I'm for all, everyone should consider it. There's obviously a huge barrier to being able to do it. You have to have the time to run. You have to either have your own resources or someone backing you up while you do it. And I think that's the real problem. I think it's less about gender. It's more about the fact this is a part-time position, you know, pays not a lot, and expects
but it
you
requires a
to
lot of time.
double time.
We're also in an urban, you know, fairly liberal environment. And I think that maybe as a woman, you might have a harder time in some of the more rural locales. But I mean, it's Richmond, and, you know, the women here seem to really kind of run the show. But
We've got some great role models, that's for sure.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Let's talk about Senator Jennifer McClellan. I don't know if anyone wants to talk about the governor's race and the fact that we could have 100%. The first female governor. Be amazing, right from my district. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's amazing. We've got I think now there are actually 4 Black women running for governor.
And that's right. You
in the
have
race.
Princess Blanding, Jennifer Carroll Foy, Jennifer McClellan, and then is the 4th a Republican?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't
Yeah.
followed her story.
Yeah.
Amanda Chase, right?
No.
Yes, but she's not Black. There's 4 Black women.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. Amanda Chase is
Surprise,
there
Amanda.
too. You know,
I think if Amanda thought that would get her over the barrier, she probably would claim that too. She's been claiming quite a bit lately.
Don't get me started.
No,
look,
no,
I swear it takes all of us.
there is another, let me see, if you give me a second, I'll tell you what her name is.
I know, I love it, like having phones right at the ready.
Let me see.
But yeah,
But yeah, this is, I'm not usually a big big person to say, oh, I love, identity politics, but I like the fact that we're in a space where we could definitely do this, and it could happen. And it's so great to see women that we deal with all the time that are, and I think, I mean, we're deep into the bowels of this. And I've been very deep into the bowels of the governor's race, and looking at, what's going on, as we've had one candidate actually step down. Octavia Johnson is her name.
Okay.
Octavia Johnson.
It's a strong name.
Yeah,
it
Octavia
is.
Johnson.
I agree.
Yeah, she is the Black Republican candidate now running for governor as well. But as it's very interesting as you're talking about balancing a schedule and being a woman and all these things that are going on, especially in the time of pandemic and what's happening. It's been very interesting, and a very interesting race to critique, as we've had one of the women step down. And I think people don't really understand the timing of how all of these things kind of work together when you're running for a statewide office, and you're also serving, in another statewide position, right? Or a larger criteria of an office. What that means, you can't campaign, really, you can't fundraise during session. And so and we just said that's a big deal. Money drives the wagon, right? And we had one of those candidates actually step down from her seat, which was Jennifer Carroll Foy, to be able to push full forward with her campaign. And I was able to talk to Jennifer McClellan. I called her and I said, hey, I know that you're being pushed to do the same for your campaign. How do you feel about that? And she said, I'm running for governor, and I can multitask. I can walk and chew gum. And that is the essence of women in politics, because we don't get, it's taken us almost up until very recent history for us to be able to really secure, maternity leave truthfully from work, right? Where it's recognized and you don't have to really fight for it, and companies aren't giving you the runaround for it. And where pregnancy is even, not recognized as a condition, with your insurance. It's wild what women go through just to exist and do womanly things, like exist and survive and raise kids and be, a part of a family and still do a job. And it's almost as if, like what you said, Kristen, you're not expected to be able to skip and chew gum and hum a tune at the same time. We can't do those things, apparently.
Yeah. Speaking of maternity leave, I think a huge kind of leap forward on the issue is paternity leave now. And I never really thought about it. I just thought it was a gender equality thing. But we have a great liaison at City Council who is on paternity leave. And it really evens it out so that people are like, okay, anyone who's in this age range might be taking leave for a child. It's not, I'm hoping that it really does help in the hiring process with the bias against hiring younger newlyweds women. Because now it could be the guy taking break too.
Yeah, I mean, paternity leave is a women's issue as well. I mean, for so long you weren't able to have your partner who made this, giant sentient melon with you, they're with you, helping you out. They're just expected to go back to work and live their lives and move on like it was nothing. And it's nice to know that you can have a partner there with you because I mean, I don't have children, but most everybody I know does. And to have that support and, have a breath for yourself is super important. So yeah, I like the point about paternity leave. That's a cool thing. Y'all, what are you focusing on right now in your roles as city council representatives? And does being a woman ever enter into some of those policy decisions or, things you want to push for?
So, when you all have like 10 free hours, definitely go and listen to our retreat that we just had.
Sure.
In 3 hours.
Exactly. Yes. Or if you want something that'll put you to sleep or give you nightmares.
Right after we finish the 708-page PDF, but
right. But I do think we had some solid discussions during that retreat. I think the first day was 6 hours, and the second we did 3 hours. So we talked about priorities. We talked about things that are a little more like gray, not like this issue or this issue, but like how do we execute? How do we work together? How do we communicate publicly? Like that's a huge thing, I think, for all of us. How can we connect with more people, especially during the pandemic? It's been challenging. I think as a woman and as a mom, and going back to why I first got into politics, I do feel like I always bring just a different lens when I come to the table. I mean, I'm constantly thinking about my kids and what kind of Richmond am I leaving for them? They're 13 and 15 now, 13 and 16. My son just turned 16 like a week ago. He's not driving.
Is that right?
So I don't think he'll be on the road till like 2022. He's got to take the class and driver's. But anyway, so I think being a mother, being a woman, and raising children in our city, at least I feel like I come with a little bit of a different perspective. I'm constantly thinking, what is this going to look like, down the road? Like, how can I build this foundation that when somebody else comes in my seat, or if, the new council, to pass them on something that can help lift our city up even further and just create an even greater Richmond than we already have. And I think one of the examples of this that we did talk about during the retreat was the park system. So we have this, the James River Park System Master Plan. It was put together. There was all this public input. Like, it was done really well, and we don't always do a plan really well. So, like, yay us, we did it.
That's so true.
It is so true. Or we just come up with a plan and then we never execute it. So
that is very true. That's more truer than the first statement.
I want to see the closet of plans that never have been implemented.
Yep. We just, like we should just have a closet that you go into like once every 6 months. Like, but I think that's where we do really have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to make sure that our park system continues to be used in a sustainable way, right? More people are visiting the park, which is great, but how do we balance that with the number of people and make sure that we're not bringing permanent damage into our park system? And then secondly, there's the whole tourism angle of it. And if you all go down to the river, you know, we as Richmonders kind of know the trails. You kind of have your place where you go, or the rocks that you hang out on, everything. But it is hard to find a trail map anywhere in this city. And if you came to our city and were, you know, trying to Google it or something, like, good luck. It's really difficult to navigate if you kind of don't know what you're doing. And people are coming. I mean, we are definitely in a draw. And I think with what we're going through right now, the economy and everything and the pandemic, which I think, you know, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we still need to make sure that we're continuing to support our economy in diverse ways, right? And I think this is an opportunity. We have the whole riverfront plan. We have the whole James River Park System master plan. And I think this would be a good time to get both of those kicked off.
Agreed. I 100% echo Kristen on this. We've got to invest in the James River master plan. And that was something I talked about when I was campaigning, and it's popular for a reason, because people love the James River. And especially right now with the year we've had, I think people understand more the value of being outside and connecting with nature and the need to decompress and the mental health benefits. So more than ever, I think we have every reason to tighten our belt in other areas and make sure that we're putting the resources and the priority towards the James River Master Plan and in our parks and rec in general. So agree, that's a huge focus. You know, in general, focusing on the budget, right? Like, that's the big thing before us right now. And yeah, I've got my budget binder open right now in front of me, and it is really thick. And I'm going to be relying on some folks who this is their area of expertise. I'm going to be relying on my constituents to tell me what they care about, because we're going to have to prioritize. And I am comfortable with the idea of putting forward amendments. I think that's our responsibility, especially when we don't create the budget together with the mayor's office or with the department. So there's naturally going to be, or should be, some back and forth. So that'll be a big area of focus. James River, 100% yes. Also, we need to invest in, I think, our planning department, as well as some of the other, you know, citizen-facing parts of our government. Social services is a big one. So I'm excited about that, because digging into the dollars is when you really figure out what we're prioritizing. And I think that's what folks expect. They want their council persons to dive into this in a way that they probably don't have time for, and come up with areas that, you know, we can make sure that we're funding the priorities that, you know, sort of circular. Sorry, I'm saying the same thing again, but that's the main focus for me right now, and continuing to address the daily things that come into the office. You know, things about alleys, things about SUPs, about Richmond 300. It just never stops, and it is an amazing volume of work and responsibility that, frankly, is kind of impossible to keep up with. So I took a mental health break last week to brace for the budget.
Yeah, you did. Good.
Yeah. Oh my God. So, but I'm still enthusiastic, and I'm excited to be here doing it.
That's why I don't understand, though, how a council position is not a full-time fairly well paid job, because expecting you to do all of that out of the kindness of your heart, I mean, it's a lot, because it's not like you have set hours ever,
Mm-mm.
especially, as a council person, because people are going to text you, email you, call you, whatever, knock on your door, whenever they think it's convenient. And so you time your life out, and then you're like, all right, well, here we go. So taking the time for yourself is super commendable, and you have to work that in, especially these
And
days.
they unfortunately do not call your very well paid liaisons
As
which is
much
what
as
they're
you want
for.
them to.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what they're
I'm
for.
trying to set some boundaries, with my time. Like, I don't do a lot of council stuff try not to do a ton on the weekends, so that I can be with family and recharge.
Mhm.
But I am excited about my liaison spend, and I think we've got a great group of liaisons, and they really are the lifeblood, because they are. I mean, I think we probably work, like, if you really compare it out the hours. I mean, at night I'm thinking about it. Wake up in the middle of the night thinking about stuff from city council. Wake up and think about city council. Like, it really is nonstop. And I think they give themselves a little bit more of a break to be maybe 70 hours instead of whatever the max number is in a week.
Yeah.
But we do have a great group of liaisons, and anyone listening, I'm grateful for Sven. And I know people were grateful for his predecessor, Craig, because they are the ones that are in the trenches that figure out who to contact in any given department, and resolve a lot of the day-to-day constituent stuff.
Yeah, we really do like to shout out and pump up the liaisons, because they do have some of the hardest work to do when it comes to city council. And they really do, they field a lot of the constituents coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe get some of the more aggressive ones before you do, and it's a lot, and it's a lot mentally on them too. So kudos to your amazing group of liaisons that you have. And always CC them in an email, please.
Yes.
I don't know how many times we can say that.
Yeah. And we always try to reach out to them, when it's something like work related, when it's we need, if we need something, or we need a file or something, we try to reach out to them, because we know they are totally they're the workhorses. And it's when people can give you guys a break and they can reach out to your liaison, it's important that they try to do that. And so we always try to point that out to folks when we can. It's really important that folks try to do that. The liaisons are great. But thinking about the work, as you're talking about the non-stop workload, right? On council, have you found the dynamic to be different now that you are on a majority-led or majority female-led board? That's been one of the things that people will find as critique, oh, it's going to be catty. Oh, it's going to be too much. It's going to be blah, blah, blah. And we've got somebody jumping on. Hey.
Hi.
Yay!
Can you hear me?
We can. Welcome. Yeah. So, how have you felt, about the atmosphere of, just council? And this might be a better question for you, Kristen, since you were on last year, but how have you felt the the tone has been?
So I don't think there's a lot of cattiness, unless I'm just not privy to that.
Good.
But I mean, I think Katherine and Francis have brought incredible energy to our group. And I really loved, we had an issue, I don't want to go deep into it, a couple weeks ago, where something was being pushed to be voted on, even though it was really delayed per our agenda. And both Katherine and Anne Francis were like, but I mean, aren't we just going to follow our rules? It's like, well, yes, that's what we're hoping this time. But a lot of times, you know, stuff gets changed on the fly if the second floor has priorities. So I just love the energy they're bringing to the table, and it's refreshing to have an outsider come in and see some of the usual business that goes on and be upset by it, because sometimes I feel like I'm that one person who's like, hey, wait a minute, and the lone voice. And so I really like having them there because it puts it in perspective. And I am just, you know, I feel for them, because I do remember even transitioning from school board to city council. Man, it is hard. Those first 6 months are like, it's like your first 6 months of college, you know, where you can't find the building, and then you get there and like you've forgotten the book, or I just, you know, it's so overwhelming that you're like, I don't even know where to begin. But I think they're both super smart, super strong, and are definitely just plowing through everything. So I'm impressed. And I did want to say something about the life-work balance, because I think whether you're a woman or a man, you have to have that. This is a job where you will be out to eat, where you will be in the grocery store. You could be almost anywhere in Richmond, and you know, somebody is going to want to talk to you about, you know, their neighbor that hoards stuff in their carport, or a sign that's missing from the street or something. And there is a need to engage with people where they see you and they want to engage with you, but there's also a need in an area where you can control it to take a step back, to make sure you're still connecting with your family, to make sure you have time to recharge your batteries. Because if you don't recharge those batteries, you're going to burn out so fast. And I did not do a great job of that when I was first on school board, and have since learned that, you know, definitely on the weekends, I try to make sure I have more time for family, more time for personal stuff. And it makes a huge difference.
I think that the cattiness thing is a myth. Like, I think like perpetuated by the patriarchy, because large groups of women really tend to get shit done. And I think that is something that a myth that men perpetuate to kind of break down that strength, that power that ladies and, you know, femme identifying folks have together. And we have a late entry into the crew, and we're really excited that she's here. Yes. Councilwoman Anne Francis Lambert is with us, and we're going to take a pause for a moment and allow her to come on in and tell us a little bit about herself. Fran, you said you filled her in a little bit on what we've been talking about. Great.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I apologize for my tardiness. It's been a busy Sunday, but yeah, thank you for having me. I got a couple of the preliminary questions, basically a little bit about myself. My name is Anne Francis. I have two first names. I'm named after my grandmother. Well, my two grandmothers. My mother always says that I have to give them equal time. One is Mary Ann and one is Mary Francis. So my parents were creative enough to put Anne Francis together. So I have two first names. I don't have a middle name. Grew up, born and raised in Richmond. Battery Park was where I would run around, ride my bike. And back in '85, my family, we moved over to Ginner Park neighborhood. It's been there ever since. But my dad was in politics since 1978. That's really where I got my the bite to be a politician was from my father, him being my example. One of the questions was what women, how being a woman has influenced you in politics and so forth. Because it's a male dominated area, I really didn't have too many female examples, but the first Black woman to represent the 3rd district was Willie Dell, and she ran against my dad when he ran for Doug Wilder's seat back in '85. So I was in the 5th grade, and that was really the first, not to say woman, but woman in politics running against my father was my first kind of exposure to that. But, you know, the years I have met a tremendous amount of great examples and women who have served and basically taught me how to just be that representative that people have voted you for. So with those examples and with my father, it's kind of like it was a thing that was inevitable for me to run. And basically moving back to Richmond a couple years ago, my oldest brother passed away, which kind of forced me to come back to Virginia. And I had started to think about what am I going to do when I get back to Richmond? So being a certified drone pilot and being the first Black female certified drone pilot here in the city of Richmond, I said, well, I'll come back and actually teach and train other young ladies to be certified drone pilots. So after that, I came back, and being in the district, I realized that there was a lot of the lack of resources, especially in the North Jackson Ward area. And, you know, a lot of people just started asking questions and asking me, well, maybe, Ann, you should run, you should throw your name in the hat. And I said to myself, you know what, maybe I will. And because of the previous experiences I've had on city council, working in state and federal governments, it gave me the confidence to know that I am qualified. And I believe that I don't want all this experience to go to waste. So let me roll up my sleeves and get involved. And then COVID happened. And then it was like, you got to think out the box. And, you know, so the campaign moved forward. I moved forward, knocked on those doors, and really just got out there to let folks know that I'm here, I'm back in Richmond, and I'm going to win. And luckily I won, thank the Lord. And, you know, being on council is just surreal, but it's also just kind of like old times. You know, being a council liaison, I had a lot of experience for this position. And now it's just like old times, seeing a lot of old friends still working at City Hall, but I also see a lot of things that we do need to change. And I'm just fortunate and just grateful that I can be a voice, and be a voice of reason, be a voice of truth, and some way that we can really be progressive and move forward on city council. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm sorry for being tardy, but I wanted to just come in and just let you guys know I'm here. And, you know, and I love my colleagues because they're great people to work with. And they also, you know, I talked to everybody when I first got on council to let you know who I am and how we can work together. And I'm just not for the foolishness that occurred last city council. So this one, I'm very confident and grateful that I'm working with a great team of my colleagues, very smart people and know what they're doing. So I appreciate that. And it's great to work with folks that, you know, have similar interests. In a nutshell.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't worry about being tardy. It is fine. We're having a nice casual conversation. And we just actually finished talking about, right before you jumped on, about how important council liaisons really are and how awesome and influential they are to the life work of council people. So that's a great point to add, and for your constituents to know. You were a former liaison, and that's amazing. So we're happy to have you on. Melissa, how are we looking on time?
We are actually at about 42 minutes, 42 and a half. So we can probably go for another 5 or so.
Okay.
And yeah, I was curious too, to our new folks, how are you finding things? And Francis answered that a little bit, but I'd like to give Katherine the opportunity. How are you finding, your newfound relationships?
Ooh, it's been intense. It's been really intense, but I will say, echoing what Anne Francis said, people have been very welcoming on council. Our colleagues, I think, have been terrific, and I'm very aware of what I do not know, and that I'm entering a really intense job. So I'm not scared to pick up the phone and say, or I'll text somebody, is this when I do a motion for the paper I'm carrying? And I really have no idea. And I'm grateful that everyone has been very gracious and encouraging. Because I think in general, everyone on council wants council to succeed. And we can't do that if there's a weak link. We can't do that by shutting someone out. So I do feel like the camaraderie right now is really strong across council. And that's good for the city. So yeah, it's been intense. It's been overwhelming. There have been some days that have been rough, and yeah, people are nasty. People can be really nasty, but they can also be very grateful and encouraging. And those are the conversations I try and focus on. I try and focus on things that are within our control to have a positive impact for the city. And I just keep putting goodwill out there, and people have been giving it back. So I think so far so good. 3 months in, 2 months?
Yep. Yes. Well, good. We're glad to hear that. Council can be quite the beast. So I'm glad that it's been treating you all well, and we hope that it continues.
Hope y'all enjoy budget season.
Oh my gosh, please don't even talk about budget season.
We just got finished talking about that 708-page PDF. Yes, we did.
Oh my goodness.
I can't read it online. I have to have the book. I have to have the actual thing.
Does it help you
Yeah.
like, mark it up too? Because I find that I'm a
Yeah.
hand lister. Like it really helps me to make
Yeah, I've got
margins.
tabs on things I want to ask somebody
Oh, yeah.
about.
Yeah, I
highlighted
got tabs.
things.
Yeah,
Like one of those
highlights, all
people
good
that
stuff.
like has all their folders and their stuff like running in.
That's actually
Mhm.
me, but I'm trying not to print this thing off because I've done that for the last like 4 years, and I'm trying not to print this off because it's literally an entire ream of
Kinko's
paper.
would love you.
Yeah, and that's about a $400 print job. Just want to let you know that. Just
Oh, I already know.
Oh yeah.
Because I've printed it off for the last 4 years. And
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Do you think it would,
And
it
I
would
don't
work
get a
to have like,
person budget.
what if we had like a room set up, people could come in and look at it? Like you could take notes, you could spend some time with it, like at a library, or is that
That's a good
no one would show up?
suggestion. Right.
People probably would, but I feel like it would end up getting
COVID.
Yeah, no, you will that
That too.
COVID. It would end up getting COVID,
Yes,
probably.
Right.
The budget, and then the budget would get COVID, and then it would be sick. Yeah, that would be not okay.
Oh man.
But it would probably end up getting marked up or something because people would, do stuff to it. But
One missing page.
Yeah, no.
I guarantee you there'd be a couple of unsolicited dick sketches as well.
I'm sure.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
No, yeah, keep it real. Keep it real.
Yeah.
It would.
I mean,
it would.
It
would.
Well, Fran's got the last question for you.
Yeah.
She said some dick sketches.
It would.
It's funny.
I mean, if you want to know where the best of your constituency is in your city, go to the comment section on a political Catherine's like, no thanks, on a political ad in the, or a political, in the RTD, you'll find it.
Oh yeah. Oh, you speaking nothing but facts. And then don't let it be something about the casino. You hear everybody's. So yeah.
Oh, honey. Well,
That's what-
you're here a year or two late because last round it was Navy Hill.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, people are
Oh, yeah.
feisty. People are, they're ready to comment. It's
Oh my gosh.
itchy Twitter fingers and whatnot.
Oh yeah. I'm telling everybody I haven't seen any proposals just yet. So I'm not commenting until I see everything. And I'm not meeting with anybody until I do. So
That's
folks are
appreciated
waiting.
too. Like,
Good.
Kristen
the
was saying
casinos?
earlier too about
Yeah.
like going through the rules and following the processes. It is really important that you have all of your information to bring to your
Mm-hmm.
constituents.
Exactly.
And historically that hasn't always been the case. So
Mm-hmm.
it seems
Mm-hmm.
like this is a group that really is focused on doing the research and taking the time, and that's appreciated. I have to say.
Yeah.
It is. It's important. Well, to close us out, ladies, what advice would you give for other young women looking or seasoned ladies as well, right? Who may be looking at you as role models, who may be thinking about going into politics. What are your what would be your bits or tidbits of advice or motivation in this Women's Month for those little girls, young women, seasoned hens, all of those things?
So I don't think for a long time I even really thought too much about it, that I was a role model, until my daughter, who campaigned with me on her little Mickey Mouse scooter when I was, I'll see if I can find the photo for you guys. It's like the cutest thing. P.S. We were gone for 2 hours. We did like 5 doors. And she had to go to the bathroom while we were gone. So thankfully we knew one of the people. And of course we ended up being there like 20 minutes. However, it's one of those days I always remember, and I've spent a lot of days knocking on doors. So, but yeah, when Mags she's in 8th grade now, and maybe when she was like in 3rd or 4th, they had like dress like what you want to be when you grow up day at school. And so she wore like a navy sweater and a strand of pearls. And she's like a city, or I guess I was on school board at the time. I'm dressing like mom. And that is something that I just love. And I think anytime we can show young women, whether it's our own family or outside of that world, that anybody can do this. You just have to have the drive and the passion, and you can definitely make it work. All of us, even including the men on council, are in all different sorts of family situations, work situations, and we all still show up. We all take the calls and represent and do the best we can. And is it challenging? 100%. But if your heart is there and you feel like, I need to do this because, I am that person that's going to take my district forward, that's going to represent my district in the way it needs to be represented. I think, that is our message to young women, that you can do it. And I would be happy to help out any young woman who comes to me and wants guidance or advice or anything.
I can speak to that. Just hop on in. Go ahead. I would say advice I would give to young women is, if you do have a goal, write it down first. Because when you write a goal down, it actually, things start to happen to make that come true. But as I said before, I am an entrepreneur, I'm the first Black certified drone pilot. And if that's not enough to let someone know that you can do it, I don't know what else to tell you, but that is one of the things that I want to be an example. And I tell everyone, if you dream it, you write your goals down, you can achieve it. So hopefully being on council, being a voice, and being seen will help other young women know that they can do it too. But I tell anyone, if you are ready to run, definitely start talking to people. One thing that I talked to my predecessor, he said to me, well, if you're interested in running, just make a list of your donors and lock yourself in the room and start calling them. I said, okay, all right, I'm gonna do that. So it takes money, and you have to overcome your fears of asking. I think that's one of the hardest things. If you're an introvert and you're not one of these people persons, you have to be if you want to run for office. So if you take anything away, know that, you have to ask, get out your comfort zone, and write those goals down. That would be my response.
It's hard to follow those two, but I think I would say, and I was an introvert. I am an introvert. I think but to Kristen's point, there are so many women who want to help other women, whatever age you are, whatever level of government that you're interested in. So seek out those people. And I think volunteering on campaigns is a great way to start. That's how I got initiated a little bit and started to meet some of those women. And then also, I would say be active in your community, because you need to know what your community cares about, because that's why you should be running, right? Is to represent your community, to work on the issues that you've seen firsthand. So I would start there, build those leadership responsibilities, get to know folks, different demographics than you. You can't just be one band, like, one clique. You got to know everyone in your community. And then there are a lot of great free, low cost training programs. Tons of them. Emerge, Virginia is a great one, or USA, sorry, Emerge, and there's a Virginia chapter. Run for Something also is a great one, supporting women. Act Blue has a lot of free training. Follow those things on Facebook, see when their next class is. They want women to run. They want you to win, and they will bring in mentors to help you. And one of the best pieces of advice I got from a guy was, you can't be afraid to lose. So you got to run, put your heart in it, but also know that at the end of it, you're going to be okay if you don't get across the finish line, and the journey will be worth it. And maybe, the next time you will, but I think that was helpful to me, because it also helped me create some balance. Like, I can't leave it all on the field because I don't want to burn my house down in the process with my family in it. So yeah, look for mentors, really know your community, get some like lower rung ladder, experience in leadership positions, and look for those training programs, because there are a lot of them and they're terrific.
Absolutely.
Don't let anyone tell you can't.
That's
That's
right.
Exactly, Katherine.
That's a great way to end it. Man, this has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to chat with y'all today and get your perspectives. And happy Women's History Month, y'all. And, continued support, I hope, comes your way. Good luck in this term. You guys have a lot of big issues. A lot of big issues to tackle, and we know you're going to do it well, and you're going to do it by the book. Fran, would you take us out, please?
I certainly can. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. Listeners, you've been listening to RVA Dirt's Municipal Mania, heard every Wednesday here at 11 a.m. on WRIR-LP 97.3 Richmond FM Independent Radio. As always, Flint still has dirty water, and Jersey does too, and we might do too. And I think I heard down the street, Petersburg probably does too now. So we need to work on this here. RPS was fully funded last year, and we got the budget, and so hopefully council is going to make sure that they're fully funded this year. So let's go with that, because they're going to need that and some more and some more and some more to infinity and beyond, Buzz Lightyear style, because we need it. And the kids need to do whatever the kids are going to do. Go back to school half the year, whole year, 3 years, 20 years, 5 years, whatever it is, they need to go back to school and get it going, okay? Because our kids need to feel better, and we all need to kind of restore some, I don't know if normalcy is the right word, because
Order.
we can challenge that. How about, yeah, order is nice. We like that. We like that.
Yes.
We want the kids healthy and happy and learning. And so whatever that looks like, we need that. And they need money to do it. And so we need it. And as always, you know it, I know it, we all know it together. Richmond is most certainly still racist, but we're working on it one day at a time. Talk to you next week.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
You guys are